Hey there, everybody. If you know anything about me, or if you don't, I'm going to tell you right now. One thing that I absolutely love is conventions. There's no better way to get involved with the people that love the same stuff that you love, to meet these people and to just have a good time, or just be comfortable in an environment that is very accepting of the things that you love, because the bottom line is a lot of us don't really have that around us. The problem is that I go to a lot of these conventions, and especially with the bigger ones, you get a lot of people who they get caught off guard by what the convention is all about. I go to Wizard World in Philadelphia, and at least once a year, there's somebody who is about to pass out. They're sitting on the stairs, and they can barely move. And I always end up offering them some of my candy or some of my water or something like that, just to sort of get them going. So what I thought I'd do here is I put a few tips together for people who are not familiar with conventions. Maybe you go to a lot of conventions and you're still kind of new to it. Maybe you're a seasoned pro and there's just some of this stuff that you don't really try. So maybe a little bit of this will make it a little easier for you. All right, so for my first tip, a lot of people like to say bring water and snacks and stuff like that. That all is part of one big tip to me. My first tip is definitely don't underestimate conventions as a physical activity. The bottom line is we play video games and we watch movies and TV shows and we read books and comic books and we do a lot of these things that are very stationary activities. So then all of a sudden we get up and we go to a convention and we are on our feet walking around for 10 hours a day. If your body's not used to that, it's going to let you know. And halfway through it, you're not going to be capable of moving on. That being said, you definitely, yes, bring water, bring snacks, bring an empty bottle, because a lot of places will have water fountains where you can fill up. Because if you rely on the stuff that they sell there, you're going to spend a lot of your money on that. Take rest breaks. Every once in a while, every hour or so, go to the food court area, find a place that's off the beaten path. Just sit down for a little bit, just relax. If you bought anything, go over that stuff. Just you want to rest. Every once in a while, this is a big one for me. Including physical, as far as a physical strain, there's also a mental aspect to it. Every once in a while, I like to leave or separate myself from the convention floor itself. It's good to just have some peace and quiet, relax a little bit. If it's a kind of convention where you can leave and come back, say you've got a bracelet or a badge or something like that, go outside, check out the area, check out the local neighborhood, and even if it's just 10-15 minutes, you'd be surprised when you come back in, you feel very rejuvenated. Okay, so for number two, I'm gonna say pace yourself. Now that kind of falls under the first tip, but pacing yourself is actually something else entirely. Also, what you want to do is you want to get a lay of the land. You don't just want to rush around and do whatever you want to do. You want to walk around for a little while, get an understanding of what is where. Maybe the sales. Everybody rushes right to the sales floor, but try and figure out where the panel rooms are. Make sure you know where the restrooms are. That's a very big one. Make sure you know where the food is. Make sure you know where the food court is so that you can sit down and relax for a little while. As far as shopping, shop around. Don't just rush over to the first booth that you see and he's got, we're always shopping. We're always buying things. As geeks, we love to buy stuff. And when you see some of these things, they're going to have a lot of things that you don't normally see on a regular basis. So your first instinct is to buy everything that you can. But shop around. A lot of these guys, especially at the bigger conventions, they're going to have a lot of the same things. Some of them might work a deal with you. Some of them might just have better prices on their own. Also, don't rush around. Don't try and hurry from this place to that place. Take your time. If you've got a weekend pass, or even if you're there all day, get there in the morning and you've got as much time as you need to walk around, take a look at everything, head back to the places that you remember. So just don't rush around, because in the end you're going to end up leaving something. The last thing you want is to rush around and leave your bag with all the stuff that you bought. Tip 3 is definitely going to be to research your activities before you go. Go on the website and check for panels. See what panels they're going to be having, what celebrities are going to be at those panels. You want to see who the guests are and when they're going to be there. Not all the guests are there all the time. Some of the lower tier guys will sit at their table all day, where some of the higher celebrities, they're going to have panels to do. They're only going to be available for a couple of hours a day. So you want to definitely get an idea of what you want to see, who you want to see, and when you're able to see them. If you want autographs, get in line early. The the bigger names, the people are going to be they're going to come in when the doors open and they're going to go right to the line. And that's the best way that you can get in as early as possible. Otherwise, you're going to spend all day waiting in line. Or, depending on who you're going to see, get there very late. Certain people will, if they're available all day, a lot of the time people will rush over there because they're going to do exactly what I just said, which is get in line early. But then the line's going to fizzle out, and then at the end of the day, sometimes you can walk right up and get an autograph, and there's no one in the line. Keep in touch with your friends is definitely my fourth tip. Check your phone every once in a while. It's going to be loud, so you're not going to hear it ringing, so you want to keep it on vibrate. And even still, check it every once in a while, because I know I always miss the vibration. I get a lot of those phantom vibrations on my leg, so I think that my phone's ringing, so half the time I just ignore it. But if you were the one that drove them down, they're going to need a ride. If you got a ride, you don't want them to leave without you. Just keep in touch with your friends every once in a while if you get separated, or if you intend on separating. If you want to go to a panel that they don't, that's not really fair for you guys to be holding each other back. So, don't be afraid to venture off on your own. That's part of the fun. Tip 5 is for cosplaying. If you're cosplaying, one of the biggest tips I can give you is to bring a helper. If you have somebody that you want to buy their ticket, and basically buy their ticket with them with the knowledge that they're going to be your helper. You want to give them some time every once in a while. You want to give them an hour or two so that they can enjoy the convention on their own. But you want to bring somebody who's going to be able to hold your bag for pictures. If you have a larger costume, you're going to need somebody that's going to help you get in and out of it, because some of these big costumes, they are at least a two-man job. So consider bringing somebody along that's going to be able to help you out with everything. As far as your bag for carrying your swag and stuff like that, try to match a bag with your costume. That's one big thing that people don't seem to do. They have their favorite bag that they bring to everything, and it's a big black duffel bag, and then they wear a big red costume. Consider getting another bag that matches that costume specifically. Consider, if you're not going to be buying a lot of things, consider a small wallet or a fold, something that goes in your pocket, and don't have a bag at all. I recommend having a bag just to be sure, but that's something that you can think about. This one goes for whether or not you're wearing a costume at all. Be mindful of costumes. If you're wearing a big costume and you've got big giant wings, or you've got a big long sword, try not to hit a bunch of people with it. Try not to knock into a bunch of stands or anything like that, because it gets kind of irritating. Not to mention you can damage your costume. If you're not in a costume, be mindful of other people's costumes. If you see a guy with big wings walking by, try to step out of the way if you can a little bit. It may seem like his responsibility, but you're the one that's going to get poked in the eye. Tip 6, I should say, be patient. I know it's crowded, and I know it's hot, and I know it's uncomfortable, but here's the thing. It's crowded for everyone, not just you. Everybody is dealing with the same exact problem you are. Crowded walkways, people bunched up because they're taking pictures or they want to see things. There's people lingering at booths because they like the stuff that's there. Just be patient. You are not the only person there, obviously, which is why you're having a problem. They have a right to be there, and you have a right to be there. If you are in a situation where you have to be there and you don't want to be, that's not anybody else's fault. Maybe if the person that's dragging you there, if you want to hassle them, that's on you. That's your business. But if you're just walking down the walkway and you're upset because you're there, and somebody is walking near you, or you're just kind of agitated, that is not the fault of any of the random people that are there. So please be patient. Don't take it out on them, because it's not their fault. Tip 7, this is for everybody. Learn from this experience. If this is your first time going to a convention and you really enjoy it and you plan on going to more, think about what you can do to make things a little bit easier. I've gone with a lot of people who it's their first time going to a convention and they don't bring a bag. I'm at a point now where I have a bag that I bring, and in that bag is actually a bunch of smaller plastic bags so that I can carry some swag loose, if I get something that's fragile and I'm just not throwing it in my bag and it's rattling around. If I get comic books, I'll bring bags with boards in the slight chance that they don't have bags with boards, or if their comic books just have bags and no boards. I'll bring a lot of that stuff with me. Consider if there's even going to be a next time. If this is your first time going to a convention and you absolutely hated it, nothing wrong with that. That's your prerogative to not enjoy it. So consider if this is not something that you want to do from now on. Nobody's saying you have to go to conventions. If there's something there that you want, but you don't like every other aspect of it, maybe you like the sales floor, but you hate the crowd. Maybe consider a smaller convention. Maybe consider not even going to a convention, finding a local shop near you. It'd be worth it for you to travel an hour to a small shop that's not going to have these problems, as opposed to a 10-minute drive to a convention where you're just going to be miserable all day. Tip 8 includes a few different things. This is going to be my final full tip. But tip 8 is definitely participate. Engage others. Try and talk to people. Hang out. If they're having a conversation, listen to the conversation. Maybe if you can include something, you go right ahead. Most of the time, we love talking about stuff. We love to hear different perspectives. The internet has sort of made us believe that people hate other people's opinions. But in reality, every time I've gone to a convention, I've been parts of conversations. I've been in parts of conversations that I was only listening to, and I maybe chuckled or something, and it inserted me into the conversation, and then there we were having this long conversation about something that we all love, which is what the convention's about, being there to celebrate the things that we love. If that's not comfortable for you, just be present. Don't go to the convention and pay whatever it takes to get in there and sit off to the side and be a wallflower, like they used to call it, where when you would go to a school dance and you would just sit on the bleachers and not do anything. Be present, be involved. Go and find some panels to go to. It seems a little daunting at first, but go out there, put yourself out there, be involved in some of these things. Go to the panels, go to the floor, just hang out and just be around it. And trust me, you're going to get more comfortable, and eventually you're going to include yourself in it. The main floor is not the only part of the fun. Like I said, check out the panels, check out the parties. A lot of the time they'll have small parties or music concerts depending on where you're going. If you go to something like MagFest, the big thing for there is the gaming, but they have tons of concerts to go to. That's the sort of thing that you might want to go and see. If you go to Wizard World, they have movie screenings where you get to go down and you get to hang out, and it's an hour and a half, it's 2 hours away from the floor, but it's something else going on. It's something a little more involved. They even do speed dating at some of these things, nerdy speed dating, which is a great thing for some people. My wife would not approve of me going to that, but it's still a cool thing to have. This is the last part of tip number 8. And I know it's a cliche. Try to have fun. Again, it can be very crowded. It can be very frustrating. It can be a little depressing when you see how much great stuff there is and you don't have a whole lot of money to spend. Just be mindful of the fact that just being there, being around other people who love the stuff that you love, that's definitely a great feeling to have. And if you ride that feeling, I guarantee you're going to have a good time. Whether you go there and you've got thousands of dollars to blow on whatever you want, or if you got enough money to buy your ticket and a big pretzel to eat, and for the rest of the day, you're just going to walk around and look. That's going to be it for my tips for today. Let me know in the comments if you have any other tips or if there's anything you wanted to talk about. Again, I'm a huge convention guy, and as of this recording, I'm going to be going to MagFest soon. I mean, this year, 2016, I've actually got about 5 or 6 conventions lined up, and that's just the minimum. There's a lot of the time there's things popping up. As for my favorite conventions, I love Wizard World in Philadelphia. I will, if I can only go to one convention every year, it's going to be Too Many Games out in Oaks, PA. I'm doing MagFest for the first time this year. I'm probably doing Otakon for the first time this year. And I'm going to be missing Katsucon. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a ticket for PAX East. But those are 2 conventions that I'd also really like to do. And let me know. I'm in the Northeast northeast section of the country, let me know what conventions are around here. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I know there's Zenkai Con out in Lansdale, or I'm sorry, Lancaster, and that's one that people have told me that I should go to. I know MomoCon is a big one, and that's one that I'd like to go to at some point. Dragon Con, some of these are a little bit further away from me than it's comfortable, but let me know. Let me know what I should be looking for. Thanks, guys. You have a good night.